Hi, this is Chanel. Hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk about manipulative behavior, and I'll be discussing questions you should ask when you think you may be dealing with a manipulator. And I believe it's good to ask questions and have conversations that some people would, may consider difficult. Okay, a lot of people I found prefer to avoid difficult conversations. Okay, and they try to avoid difficult conversations because 9 times out of 10 there's something that they're hiding. Okay, if they're being manipulative. Okay, and so I think that or I believe that the more questions you ask, especially when it's people close to you, the more questions you ask, the more informed you are. Okay, also the way in which a person answers a question and the way in which a person participates in a conversation says a lot. Okay, some people will attempt to they'll avoid difficult conversations altogether. Okay, so they may give you the silent treatment or just not answer questions if you ask them. Some may give responses, okay, but not answer. There's a difference between responding and answering. Okay, there are people who respond but not answer questions. Some people use tactics such as getting loud with you, or cursing at you, or trying to overtalk you. Okay, trying to belittle you. Okay, these are all tactics that some people use in order to avoid having difficult conversations or releasing information that they don't want to release. Okay, and that's just a few. There are a lot of things that manipulative people do. But what I'm going to do in this video is give you questions to ask. What you don't want to do is, what you want to try to avoid is, first off, we can't control other people. Okay? You can't control other people, and I'm going to go a step further. You don't want to control anyone. I know for me, I like to allow people to say whatever it is they need to say, tell their truth. I would rather them tell their truth than to not tell their truth. Okay, and so ideally, you would want to have conversations, we should want to have honest conversations that are difficult. Okay, we should want to have those, and you should want to have both parties just respect one another. Okay, however, unfortunately, there are a lot of there are manipulative people in this world, right? And you can't always. Manipulative people are very they're skillful at being manipulative. Okay, 9 times out of 10, if you're dealing with an adult who is manipulative, they didn't just start being manipulative that year. Okay, they whatever it is they're doing, if whether they're lying or being dishonest in one way or another, they've been doing it for quite a while. It's not something they just started doing. Okay, and so you don't want to, you want to pay attention, but you don't want to you want to try to refrain from being offended. Okay, all you want to do is pay attention. Okay, sometimes that can be difficult. I know, I'm trying to give advice, but it's, these are things that I have had to learn myself. Okay. And some of these things are things that I have to catch myself on and pull myself back on, because, depending on the level of disrespect, because when a person is manipulating you, they don't respect you. Okay. Manipulative behavior is very sneaky. Like I said, a lot of times, there's a lot of lying. There's a lot of just dishonest behavior all the way around. And if a person is dishonest with you, they don't respect you. They don't more than likely, they don't like you and they don't respect you. Okay. I've never seen a person like someone, and I'm going to say this. Manipulative behavior is intended to basically cover one party and potentially I'm not going to go any further, but 9 times out of 10, if a person is being disrespectful intentionally, okay, and people know what they're doing, especially when you're grown, you know what you're doing, okay. And so when you are intentionally being disrespectful or harmful in some way, okay, one way or another or multiple ways, you know what you're doing, okay. And like I said, you can't like or respect the person who you intentionally harm, be it verbally or, emotionally or whatever the case may be. All right. And so, like I said, I want you to start asking questions. Okay, and I'm going to give you questions to ask and see what the response is. Okay, so and everything that I have gotten, or the questions that I'm gonna give you, are coming out of my book. Now, I don't have questions in my book. I wrote two books. One is ABCs of Manipulation, and in the book I just give short descriptors of manipulative behavior. Okay, and so like I said, instead of being offended or taken aback by manipulative behavior, what you should do is ask questions and see how they respond to it. Okay, and again, there are common responses that I have noticed that come from manipulative people. Either they lie. There's a lot of, lying is a big one. Lying, wanting to leave the conversation is a second. Yelling or becoming belligerent is a third. Sometimes they try to pull in allies. Okay, so they need people to have their back. So another tactic may be pulling in other people. Okay, getting other people involved who they know will side with them. Okay, because like I said, they want image is everything when it comes to manipulative people. They're very concerned about image. All right. So, but anyway, I want to hurry up and get to the question. So, one is, are you being arrogant with me? Okay. And that comes from, so like I said, in my book, I have gone through the alphabet. A is, two words that I used, for the letter A. I used two words for that letter. However, audacity, audacious. Okay, people when people are audacious, it's very arrogant, and bold. Okay, and so what they're trying to do normally, when someone is being arrogant and bold, is they're trying to intimidate you. Okay, and so you can say, are you trying to be arrogant with me? Are you trying to intimidate me? Okay. Pay attention to the words and actions. All right. Question number 2. Are you trying to trick me? Okay, because a lot of times when people are being manipulative, they are manipulation is a form of witchcraft. I'd never heard that until I I was looking at a video by Bishop R.C. Blakes, and he was talking about manipulative behavior, and he mentioned that. Okay, he said that, manipulation is a form of witchcraft, and it certainly is. Okay, they're trying to control the narrative. They're trying to control situations, and they have to use trickery to do so. Okay, so are you trying to trick me? There's a question that you should ask. Okay, are you trying to rush me into a decision without proper conversation and all the facts? Basically. Okay, a lot of times people will, or a manipulative person will try to rush you into making a decision. They want you to make a quick decision right now. Okay, and that is a manipulative tactic. Okay, and a lot of times when people want you to rush and do something right then, you may not have all of the information. Okay, and so again, are you trying to rush me into a decision without all of the proper, or number one, without a proper conversation and without the facts? Okay. Number 4, are you trying to confuse me? Okay. Manipulative people cause confusion. Okay, and that's their goal. Okay, the reason for lying and being underhanded is to confuse. Okay, and so ask, are you trying to confuse me? Okay, and see what they say, see how they answer. All right. Another question you can ask is, are you pretending to like or love me? Okay, and this obviously will go for either a relationship or a romantic relationship, or it could be anyone. Okay, and so again, trickery is something that is used often with manipulative people. And so ask them, are you just pretending to like me? Are you pretending to love me? How do you really feel? Okay, and see how they answer. All right. Now, again, a liar is a liar. Okay, a manipulator is a manipulator. 9 times out of 10, there are people that I've dealt with, and I've had conversations. One thing that I've noticed, or a few things that I have noticed with manipulative people, is there will either be inconsistency. Okay, so they'll say one thing and then they'll say the opposite. Okay, or they'll say one thing and then they'll say something else. All right, so that's one. That's one way you can try to gauge how honest a person is. Okay, and it's not uncommon for us to change the way we feel, or maybe feel one way, or change the way we feel because of different reasons. We may be upset. We may be, something could have happened that caused a change in the way that you feel. However, frequent inconsistencies more than likely will reveal at the end of the day, more than likely they're being manipulative if they frequently flip and flop on how they, on what they're saying, if they're being inconsistent with what they're saying. Okay. So what was I saying? So like I said, inconsistency is one, lying is another. I've forgotten what I was saying. So let me go back to the questions. Are you hiding the truth from me? Okay, manipulative people hide the truth. Okay, it's like having one hand behind their back and holding something else in the in front of you. All right, what's behind your back? Okay, is that the truth back there behind your back? Okay. Next is, are you trying to control my free will? Again, with manipulative behavior, or the one of the main reasons people are manipulative is because they want to be controlling. Okay, manipulative people are very controlling. They want to control the narratives. Okay, And so you want to ask, are you trying to control my free will? All right. And I've said this in a different video, but when you see adults trying to control other adults, you know, we all have a brain, we all have free will. That is very common. However, it's crazy. All right. This is not the way that things are supposed to be. Adults should not be controlling other adults. However, it does happen frequently. All right. And so, you know, when you deal with people who you know, may feel are being manipulative, ask that question. Are you trying to control my free will? All right. Are you trying to control how or what I think? Okay. Again, control is one of the biggest driving points for manipulative behavior. Control. Okay. Are you trying to control how or what I think? All right. Manipulative people want to control how you think. They want to control how, you know, what people think about you. Like I said, everything revolves around control when you're dealing with the manipulative person. Okay. Now, when I, you know, talking about thinking, okay, or the way people think or how you come to conclusions, as adults and even as children, you should have the ability to draw your own conclusions. Okay. You should know how to properly not make assumptions, but there's a process called the scientific method. Okay. And within that method, there's this word called hypothesis. Okay. A hypothesis is an educated guess. All right. Your job as an individual, okay, and if you're watching this, more than likely you are an adult, okay, and so as an adult, you should be able to use the brain that God gave you, and you should have the ability to come to an educated conclusion, okay, by yourself. You should not need anybody to force feed you what to think. Okay. You should be able to think for yourself. You should have the ability to look at you know, to I'm not going to go into, but anyway, you should have the ability to come to an educated conclusion. Okay. By yourself. Now, it's good to bring in other people and listen to other people's input. Okay. However, you shouldn't want to have anyone as an adult. You shouldn't want anybody telling you what to think. You know, okay, not about yourself. You know, for the most part, not about yourself or not about anyone else. Okay, for the most part. Okay, now, like I said, or like I have said in other videos, we should all want to be our best self. Okay, and so if someone is attempting to elevate you or teach you something, or, you know, teach you things, help you become more educated, that's one thing. All right. However, a manipulative person does not feed people information for the sake of just giving them knowledge. Okay, a lot of times it's control based. Okay, so anyway, I hope this was helpful. Like I said, these are just questions that you should ask people who are manipulative, and like I said, just see how they respond. See how they respond and see how they answer. Okay. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Feel free to like and write any comments. All right. Thank you again. Bye.